Today is April 13th, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, a few things on today's program, and it's going to be somewhat of a disturbing or disappointing, depressing Pro-Life Week story today, but I do want to start off by saying, like I've said before several times, don't sign that petition. If you are approached, I understand somebody is circulating petitions in front of the Kalamazoo Public Library, and if you are approached, don't sign that petition. You know, we all know what it's about. If they get enough signatures, that will put a referendum on the November midterm election that would change the Michigan Constitution, amend the Michigan Constitution, that would legalize abortion up through viability, and it would nullify or outlaw every single pro-life law that has been enacted in the last 40 years. So, and as of right now, we have an 1846 law on the books, bans abortions throughout the entire pregnancy, except for the physical life of the mother, and it's not enforceable because of Roe v. Wade. But if Roe's overturned, perhaps in 2 months by the Dobbs decision, our law takes effect immediately. But if this referendum were to pass, our law is gone, and abortion would be legal in Michigan through like the first 24 weeks of pregnancy. So don't sign that petition. We have to stop it right now. Okay. So the first thing on the docket today, Joe Biden's sister, a woman named Valerie Biden Owen, has written a memoir called Growing Up Biden, a memoir. A great title. And she has made some pretty astounding, insanely crazy statements about abortion. You know, I've been in this movement for decades, and I think we've all seen the pro-abortion people say some pretty insane things. Just unbelievably crazy things. And this one is pretty high on my list now of some of the most insane statements that I've ever heard. And what she says is, the pro-choice movement has picked the wrong term for the movement. They should have called themselves pro-life, because they are helping women. They're affirming women's lives about their health care. So let's see what she says here, and I'll be reading. We should have been pro-life, for we are the ones advocating for a better life, a life in which a mother gets to determine her future and that of her child. Sometimes I even accidentally say that I'm pro-life, because that's what it feels like. The pro-choice position should have been called. I mean, you talk about a parallel universe. What does she say here? That, quote, a mother gets to determine her future and that of her child, unquote. So Owens calls the baby her child. Is she referring to the child that she wants, the wanted child? So what about the woman who is carrying a baby in her womb that is unwanted, the unwanted child? So what happens to that baby's future? Well, it seems pretty clear from Owens that baby, in her worldview, that baby has absolutely no future. No future. So, moving on to the next disturbing story, a new children's book has just been published. The title, What's an Abortion Anyway? And this book is targeting children who are 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds, you know, preschool age kids. And it's telling them that there is nothing wrong or shameful about having an abortion. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that they would introduce this topic to 3-year-olds and somehow convince these kids that having an abortion is just totally acceptable. Last item, coming from crazy California. So, you've been warned. A bill has been proposed that may permit actual infanticide. The bill contains a provision preventing any person from being subject to civil or criminal liability based on actions or omissions with respect to their alleged pregnancy outcome, including perinatal death. And perinatal death is kind of defined, covers roughly from 28 weeks of pregnancy up to 4 weeks after birth. So if an infant were to die within that first month after birth, investigators would not be able to fully determine what caused the death. So infant deaths do occur. We know that. There's crib death, a baby died from an infection. The mother may have had some kind of a drug addiction and the baby died as a result of that. I mean, those deaths do occur. And typically, there's an investigation just to determine that cause of death. So if a baby died from a drug overdose from the mother, that might show up on a death certificate for that newborn child. But what about cases where there's an investigation, a baby has been found in a dumpster or in an abandoned, in a park, or buried in a shallow grave, and investigators may be able to determine through DNA not only the cause of death but who the mother might be. Well, as far as I can tell from this piece of legislation, there would be no criminal or civil liability for that death. So a woman could kill that child, actual infanticide, and get away with it because there's no liability. So it's only, I think it's only been introduced, so it hasn't been passed, but we'll be studying this as time goes on. And my closing thought, we all know the fairy tale, The Emperor's New Clothes, and we know the story. These weavers have fashioned a garment that nobody can see, but they've convinced the king that if you're smart enough, you can see it. So people don't want to be considered stupid or dumb. So everybody sees it, even though they can't see it. And the king is parading himself through the village or through the community, and everybody claims to see it because nobody wants to be told that they're stupid. And then this little child, he's the only one that has the smarts, the guts, the courage to say, "Look at that, the king is naked. He has no clothes." And the king is embarrassed, and the weavers are punished, and he's humiliated. But everybody's afraid to tell the truth, except for this young boy. So let's turn this to abortion. For decades, the pro-abortion people have said that the unborn child in the womb is, we've heard all these before, is a blob of tissue. The fetus is pregnancy matter. It's a product of conception. It's a non-viable tissue mass. We've heard these things. And thank God in the story of The Emperor's New Clothes, there's a boy, a courageous boy, who says to the king, "You have no clothes on." And what do we have to say to contend with these pro-abortion statements that the unborn child in the womb is just a blob of tissue? We need to have the courage to say, the baby in the womb is a baby. It's a human being. I go back to Valerie Owens, Joe Biden's sister. She wants to say that she's pro-life. Give me a break. The pro-abortion movement is just that, pro-abortion. We are the pro-life movement, defending the right to life of babies in the womb, or all life from conception to natural death. And that is the truth. I will be gone for the next 2 weeks on a vacation, so you'll be seeing Pro-Life Week in about 3 weeks. So don't lose heart. If you're bored, see my interview from 2 weeks ago with Chris Gast. It's a reminder. It's a wake-up call on this whole issue of the referendum, and it's been getting quite a bit of feedback from pro-lifers across the state. So thank God for that. But I will see you in a few weeks. Goodbye.